Hello, I'm Mirella.
And I'm Zoe.
And hi, I'm Kess.
Welcome to the Critical Obsession podcast.
Yes, it's our special episode. Let's talk dangerous romance.
I'm very excited, also nervous because we have a guest.
We have to be on our best behavior.
Thank you both for having me today.
Thank you for coming. It's exciting. I feel like this may get chaotic, but I feel like that's going to be fun.
It's already chaotic, let's be honest.
It's just chaotic usually with just you and I, so.
Yes.
Where do we start?
So I think you need to lead us through because you have all the prompts.
I'm like, see, I knew this was a mistake. I'm like, when did I become the ringleader of this circus? Okay. So we're really lucky we've got Kess joining us, and Kess is Kessthenorthface on Tumblr. She writes some excellent memes, and lately she's been writing some excellent fan fiction to try and get you guys to come and talk to us. And also just because, I feel like it's your way of dealing, right?
Yes. And I do want to say, because I saw a post about this the other day, that if anyone ever feels shy about reaching out to accounts you really like or respect their content, I low-key stalked Morella and Zoe in the early days. I kept being like, I'm really sorry if this is annoying, but I want to tell you how much I love you. And now look, I'm here talking to you in person today. So I want to encourage everyone, tell the accounts you love that you love them. And that's how you get closer and deepen your friendship.
Or we drag you down into it, the obsession. It's funny because I remember I wasn't so active on Tumblr. It was mainly Morella who was maintaining our Tumblr page, and when you messaged her, I think the first time, she was like, "Oh, somebody messaged us." It was really cute, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and then I started panicking because, what should I say? How should I answer? Oh my god, no! In case you're wondering, we are more scared. Me, at least, I'm more scared of you than you are of us.
Well, I mean, we're not scared of Kess at all anymore, but we've decided that you're ours, so we're just going to keep you for a while. I have so much to say, and yet I have no idea where to start, honestly.
Well, we're here because we really loved Dangerous Romance, and we feel like this show needs a celebration.
Yeah.
Because it ended. It broke our hearts by ending. How dare they?
I know, right? We can't let go.
I don't want to.
No, me neither.
We received
and we don't have to. Yeah.
I know, right?
Yeah, we don't have to. We asked people to send us some questions, and we received some very interesting ones. And we're going to go through those questions. And then we're going to talk about some aspects of the show that we enjoyed and that we think are worth mentioning.
All right. Let's start then with Thirst Canafan asked us a couple of things. She said, we know Salom's moment. I said that really weird. Moment. Why did I make it sound like I was moaning? I know, sorry. I apologize blatantly to everybody for that. And that it was likely years ago with the umbrella. But what do we think Kang's moment was? When do we think it clicked to him that he likes Salom as more than just a friend? So do you guys have some thoughts on this?
I do. I think I said it during the episode when I thought it happened. So it's about episode 6, the moment when he's playing football and he falls. And so he feels alone. The windmill had stopped spinning. No one is supporting him. No one believes in him. He's in denial about his feelings. And even though Salom is clearly upset and hurt, he shouts an encouragement. And then we get this flashback where we're meant to understand that Kang is remembering his conversation with his grandma and the fact that he's clearly been aware of how important Salom is to him. He can't spin without him. I mean, from the start, from episode 4 at least. And I think in that moment, he accepts the idea that he needs Salom in his life. And he gets up and he continues playing. And then later, he kisses him to test his new theory, searching for an answer, searching for a confirmation. And the way he feels about the kiss gives him the answer. He's in love. I think that was his moment.
It's interesting because mine's slightly different. What about you, Kess?
I have a really different answer.
Yeah. I'm mine's slightly different, but it's kind of, yeah. I'll let you go first.
Okay. Well, first of all, hi Paige. If for anyone who doesn't know, Thirst's Canapan got me into BL in the first place, so I would not be here if it weren't for them. So I think King has had a couple, and he's just, as you all like to say, a lizard brain. So it just takes him a while to process things. But I think his very first moment was when he shoved Siloam against the wall, and Siloam looked up really defiantly at him. I think that's when he started to like pay attention to him. So I count that as like an O moment. And then I actually think the moment he like truly realized the depth of his feelings, even though he suppressed it, was when Siloam was sick and he said the like, I miss you so much, mom and dad. And you see King's face and how just like stricken and soft he looks. And I think that's probably when deep down he realized it. And I personally believe he's lying in the art room when he tells Siloam he doesn't feel anything. I think he's just like denying the shit out of it. So I think the football scene is like him realizing he has to stop lying to himself. But I think he'd already kind of had the realization a little bit earlier than that.
Okay, mine is different again. So it's all in the same period of time though, and I agree. I believe the bit on the football field is him basically like he can't not do something about it. Like he I think he realizes he needs Selom in that moment. But yeah, okay,
That
so
he cannot run away anymore.
that's right. Yeah, he can't. I feel like he first realizes that he cares about Selom when he realizes he cares what happens to him. And so that's like in episode 4, basically. We see him you see he gets hurt and everything. But I feel like it's not until Grandma like lays it all out on the line and basically sort of says, you know, you have to pass or else. And he realizes that he cares if Selom gets hurt or not. So I don't think that this is like necessarily his own moment, but it's definitely a moment in like along that journey. But I think his own moment is actually when Selom serves him and for the first time. And by that what I mean is the scene where they come inside after Selom first moves in and King says to him something like, oh, your hair's wet, you need to dry it or you'll get sick. And he goes to get him a towel and he's trying to dry his hair or whatever, but Selom stops him and like it's like he puts him first kind of thing. So he's doing this like act of service to him, which is, you know, not necessarily something he was looking for or whatever, but it's like it wasn't something he was expecting because Selom has been like pushing back pretty much almost their entire like journey thus far, except for, you know, just recently. And I feel like you see this bit where like he's trying his hair and everything, and you see it in his face, like the moment where he's just like, holy crap. And he kind of freaks out and like runs away. And then you get this cute little glimpse of him through the glass where he's like smiling. And so I feel like we see it there, and then you see it again a little bit when they're laying on Selom's bed. There's a moment
Oh,
there.
before that, even before that, when he remembers that grandma told him that, oh, you must really love him, and then he spaces out, and then Salom hits him with the pillow. That happened exactly before that moment.
Yeah. And I feel like in episode 5, when he has this moment, like I feel like he knows that he likes him, but he's not really paying attention to it. It doesn't matter, it's not important. They're just doing this thing. The goal is to pass. There's obstacles and there's stuff happening. But I feel like the moment where in episode 5 where he kind of realizes that like he literally wants to know everything about Salom. We get this really cute scene where like they're struggling over the phone and that because he wants to know like what his dream is, and Salom doesn't want to tell him, and he hates that. Like he's just like he wants to know absolutely everything, and Salom is really not entirely comfortable about letting him know at this point in time. And I feel like this is the moment where he starts to switch his focus towards Pimfar, because Salom is doing that thing that he pretty much is does intrinsically throughout the drama, which is where he likes putting up these roadblocks, or like he's closing doors between them. And so that was like the bit where I feel like he switches his, because right up until then we even get the scene where like after he fails and everything and they sort of like can't be together anymore, which sounds really traumatic, but that's basically how they act as well. We still see the bit where they're like planning for the sports carnival, whatever it is, and the two of them like clearly are like looking longingly across the room together. They clearly want to be on the same team. And then we later have the scene where it's like he ends up on the cheer squad with Pimfar because they're all going, oh yeah, this is what should happen, sort of thing. And I feel like that's like the groundwork for that part of that scene where we start to go down that kind of rabbit hole where he's like in like not full denial, but it's just easier.
I just want to jump in on the library part because I think the library scene is so critical to what's going through Kang's mind. And I think a lot of people don't understand what was happening with Pimpha that entire episode, because Kang in that moment has a realization and tells us in his own words, like, my dad expects me to get married and have children. And it's literally you both have said this really well, like the only expectation his dad has ever given him.
Yeah.
And that's when he starts acting like Pod King, is after that moment, because he doesn't want to let his dad down when all he ever does, like when that's the only thing his dad has ever asked of him. So I actually think that's when he truly distances them.
Yeah, and I feel like the him doing that is also an acknowledgement of the fact that he has had his own moment, because he can see the danger of like what's happening. Like, this is, oh, like shit, this is how I'm feeling. I can't feel like this. I have to get married and have kids and take over the company and, you know, blah blah blah. And so yeah, as you said, Pod King.
He's in denial, like he's suppressing all these thoughts, like he is pretending that this is not happening. And so if you want one single oh moment, I think mine is the right one. Perfect.
You're like, I'm gonna battle, you know, I feel like we need a poll now, like.
Oh yeah, let's.
if you ask for one, then that's the one, you know.
Well, it's the one when he indisputably realizes that he, like, that's what he has, like, who he needs to be with.
Yeah.
But I think for like when he realizes his feelings before he suppresses them, I actually agree with Zoe that the hair toweling is when I think he's like, uh-oh, what am I feeling?
Because
because of his grandma, because grandma called him out, like he did not think about it.
She did, yeah. He started to think about it.
He was not self-conscious up until that point.
No. And this idea, because don't forget as well, like with the bullying scenes and that earlier on, we kept getting these, like, you know, demands from him about, like, he wanted Kang to Salam to prostrate himself and do all these things. And it's like, and then there's suddenly this dripping boy in front of him who's like, you know, concerned that he might get sick and is now like toweling his hair. And, you know, this is someone who was not bowing down and was not whatever. And that's not what he's doing here, but it's like, there's kind of a symbolic likeness to it that's similar, and I feel like it shifted something in him, or like shook something in him rather. Okay, so Thirst also asked a question about how do we evaluate this show along the lines of GMM's past and current offerings. Does it meet or subset expectations for the current state of Thai BL? Oh, look, I think it like surpasses so much of what's out there, both in the GMM catalog and just in general. Look, we've said this a bunch of times, like, from GMM, I might get myself into trouble by saying this, but I feel like from GMM at this point in time, like with confidence, and there's a few shows I haven't watched yet all the way through or whatever, and I feel like we're talking about BL specifically, I feel like the only thing that is like that's on par with it is Not Me, but I'm biased. So, but I also do think that it's they sit at the same lunch table for me.
I think, you know, this is what got me into this whole thing. So I don't think I am biased. This is just something that I fell in love with, just as I fell in love with Dangerous Romance. Another one that is quite good is Be My Favorite.
Yeah, I liked Be My Favorite too. But I feel like Be My Favorite is good in a different way. Like this is, this was, we had the social commentary that you get with Not Me, although it's not as, I feel like people wanted more of the social commentary than they actually got, and that was why people had problems with it. But it has the same vibe in terms of like its seriousness, and it's, you know, I don't know, there's a couple of moments where, you know, they have that little, I guess, character I'm not going to say this word, caricature, like cartoonish vibe. It doesn't happen very often in Not Me and or in Dangerous Romance, that and GMM and BLs in general, especially the older ones, are like known for, because I don't know, it was almost like not making fun of or jokes, but like it was like definitely way too comedic, and I'm not really quite sure why.
Like they were not taking themselves seriously.
Yeah, or maybe not taking the, LGBTQ
This
seriously. I don't.
medium. Yeah,
Yeah,
this yeah.
and so we don't really see a lot of that in, as I said, in Not Me or Dangerous Romance. There's a couple of bits where, like, for example, and I love this scene, but there's the scene in the car wash where Kang tries to get him into trouble, and with the credit card, and at the end of it, we have like Salom like going woohoo yee, and like all that sort of stuff, and he does this thing where he says to Kang, there are two types of people, one who's smart and one who just thinks they're smart, so thing. And then he does this like super over exaggerated grin at him, and I actually love it because it's perfect for that moment. And I feel like that's what I mean about this drama, that elevates it, because they've used that kind of humor in the right way. Oh, another one that's good is Bad Buddy. Bad Buddy did the same thing. They broke a lot of stereotypes in BLs, about.
Okay, there were some moments. Like, for example, when the friends are going, Salom's friends are going to buy things for that project, and they are like looking into space, like looking at at the sky or
up at the
something, like.
trees. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that was a weird moment for no real purpose. Actually, that is one
Yeah,
moment
but
where
that's not really. It's not really connected to the BL aspect. It's just there, like a weird moment.
I almost feel like when you see something like that in a drama and it's not tied to the normal like stereotypes or like whatever, it's got nothing to do with the story, I feel like there's an in-house joke there. Like, I feel like it's maybe something to do with the crew, or like something happened that day and it just ended up in there because like they all thought it was funny. And the rest of us are going like, what the fuck was that? But in general, like, I mean, I remember the first couple of BLs I watched like a million years ago, without like indicating how long that's been. They were, oh my god, there were so many tropes. Like, I think I said it during either the critical discussion or the reaction for episode 12 that you could have made it a drinking game because of how many times the word boyfriend was used. My mom and I used to have this thing about Thai BLs and like certain things that had to be in the BL, otherwise it wasn't a Thai BL. Like, it wasn't a true Thai BL if it didn't have these things in it. And one of them was the like iconic sponge bath scene. Like, it just wasn't a BL if it didn't have someone giving someone else a sponge bath.
Was it really only about BLs or Thai series in general? Was it specific to BLs?
Well, I don't know, because I wasn't watching Thai, like general Thai series back then. I was just only watching BLs. So I don't know. My mum watches a lot of Lacons and stuff as well. I'd have to ask her if that's something that's in all. I don't know. I can't honestly answer that. But it was always like this really like kind of like over the top or inappropriate. Like, it's always inappropriate. It seems to be inappropriately placed. Someone touches someone, in a way that really maybe you shouldn't when they're not well, or like whatever. And it's like meant to be either sexy or romantic, and it's just, in general, in a lot of them, it's kind of in poor taste. But it was one of those things. It was like in all of them essentially. And if it wasn't, it was like, oh my god, what am I watching? Is this a BL? There's no sponge bath. And so when I think we got it in the trailer. I think for the next episode, there was like a sponge bath scene, and I was like, wait, what? And I was like, I wasn't concerned, but I was like, I was a little bit speechless for a second. And do you know what? They turned it on its head. Like, this was like this was the best like sponge bath scene, or like, I get sponge bath is the wrong word, but yeah, it's the best like wiping down scene, I think, is the other way they refer to it these days. Because there was a reason for it. Like, you got to see the fact that Kang is in this position where he wants to take care of Salom, but he has no idea what the fuck he's doing. Like, he doesn't have a mum he can ring and like ask like how do I do this, or like whatever. And I feel like he's not going to ring grandma because grandma's already like, you love him, he doesn't want to expose himself anymore. And just like he's the way he does it is very like we spoke about this a bit. It's very like, he's sick, I need to make him better. Like, and he's not thinking. It's like he's just like very very like I guess
Methodical.
Yeah, methodical.
Perfunctory?
Yeah, that's the right word. I just didn't hear
Yeah.
what you said. Yeah, he's very methodical with it. And even when like you see him, like he wants to brush the hair off like Salom's head or you whatever, but they're not there, so he doesn't let himself have that luxury because it would be inappropriate. And it's like I just wanted to high five like everyone involved in this show when I saw that scene because it was just they made it something that was like kind of awkward, but because it's meant to be, but also like really beautiful at the same time. I feel like it turned into a moment that was quite an important scene in the show. Whereas in general they use it for like really weird plot points or no plot point at all. It's just literally so that they can get the actors to take their shirt off, you know. And I like the fact that he didn't strip him off or anything because it's really not necessary.
Yeah, and I think my thoughts on how it fits in the genre, I'm newer, so I can't necessarily speak to the whole back catalog, but one thing I think it does really well is it's such a well plotted show. Like I encourage everyone to go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 now that it's all over because you will see like the bag Siloam is carrying it. There's a line at the car wash scene we were just talking about where Kang literally says like you are so good at this, like you should just quit school and become a car washer, which happens in episode 11, I think 10 or 11.
Mm.
Oh my
Um
god.
like the foreshadowing that's happening there. And like if you look at Siloam's face in a lot of those scenes when he's talking to King, like you can see all the emotions in his eyes that we later realize what they mean and how disappointed he is. And um, he's battling with that like love and hate that he tells us later.
Mm.
So I just think that they had so many little like objects they knew were going to be meaningful later, emotional plots they knew were going to come back, and they meticulously mapped out that spectrum.
Can I before Marilla, before you comment on this, can I just say something? So I I like upset Marilla earlier because I was like, oh my god, I found something, and then I wouldn't tell her what it was. So I was doing a really quick fast rewatch, fast forward through the series. My goal was to get through all 12 episodes. I got to like episode 5. So but anyway, um I thought, oh, this will be quick. I'm just wanting to watch a couple of key moments. I just wanted to see a couple of things. I knew we were going to be talking about certain motifs and stuff like that. So I wanted to go back and just remember where they happened. But I'm like, you know, into part 1 of episode 1, and I literally got to like 5 minutes in and I got bogged down. I was just like, Zoe was lost. So there were a bunch of things that I love about this like first episode. I know we talked about it in length before about this whole like bit where we get the two like composite scenes of their shirts being unbuttoned. They did such a good job with this show, like by using like imagery, colors. Like in here, you know, we've got Selim's white shirt versus Kang's black shirt, you know, light versus darkness. It's also interesting because in the bullying scene where Kang is unbuttoning Salom's shirt, they're surrounded by people, right? And yet he's alone, even though Otto's there, like whatever, he's alone because like Otto is he's he's not in a position to help Salom. Salom can only help himself in this scene. And then, and interestingly enough, Kang is in the cafe. There's a waitress who serves him, but there's no one else around. Like he's also alone. There's just all these like interesting imagery and all this sort of stuff. But we get to like around the 5 minute part. It starts where there's a scene with Safai and Salom, and it's about like they're having dinner or something. And it just at the end of that scene, this music comes on, and as soon as it started playing, I remembered that I thought it was like really pretty and I liked it when we first were watching, you know, the very first episode. But there was so much other stuff going on. I didn't really like retain that information to go back. Normally when I watch a show, if I like a song or whatever, I'll then hunt it down afterwards. But I forgot about it at the time. And it's just a really pretty piece of instrumental music. And so today I was like, I really love this. It's so pretty and so like kind of like intriguing. And so I did a little like deep dive and found it on Spotify. and it's a song called Infinity, and it's by and it starts playing. It's good. It's called
Oh, I
Infinity.
love this melody.
Yeah, and it's by someone Bloomer Peterson, featuring Naja, and I'm gonna pronounce the surname wrong, Alson. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is because this is like, I just started listening to the song, and at first I just thought it was a piece of instrumental music. It's not. It has lyrics, and the lyrics are like, I encourage you guys to go and check it out because the lyrics are really, really interesting. It really starts this. The music starts where we see Salom walking into the school by, like, once again by himself, but surrounded by people, and it's all about like, I know my circles, I know my name, um, and talking about like rising up, time to seize, growing. It's all this sort of stuff, and it's like, the lyrics for it are basically, it's so interesting because it's basically like what is going on here. And I thought at the time, while I was listening to this, and I'm like, the fact that they included this in there and didn't even give us the lyrics, but it's such a perfect song for it. There's just so much thought has been put in to every aspect of this show. They've really thought everything out. Like you said, Kess, like they have did these little things right from the start that they pay homage through all the way. I really feel like they didn't leave anything undone or untied or unfinished, which is why I think, Morella, you said that you would be quite happy if they don't do anything after this in regards to this show, like no Our Sky or whatever, because it's like, it's basically perfect. It's finished, essentially. So how do you feel it fits into the spectrum of the BLs that we currently have and that have been in the past, Marilla?
I also don't have a lot of enough experience to have a good answer to this. But yeah, that's it. I don't really know.
It's funny, as I said, the reason why I brought up the song thing is because, like, as I said, I encourage everybody to go and check it out. First off, it's really pretty, but also it's like, it's really intrinsically them, like Kang and Salom. And I just, it, as I said, the way they didn't give us any lyrics, it was one more example of how amazing the production for this show is. And I feel like I discovered an Easter egg by finding the lyrics and like how well they fit, and they didn't even give it to us. Like, it was just, yeah, I had so much to say. Like, it was just, yeah, but I'm gonna stop because it's just, yeah, I got
I
really
think
excited. I added it to our Dangerous Romance playlist, by the way, because I was like, this is perfect, it has to be on there.
I think to the question, does it meet a subset expectations for the current state of TBL? I'm expecting good stuff from them right now because the cinematography in this series, like the story, okay, let's say they already had stories which were good, but in the past, the cinematography was kind of lazy. They had so many the static camera, like moments of nothingness that could be cut out. Even the series has some moments, but there are like minor things that you don't notice that much.
Mm,
But they were really creative with this one. Like they have the Dutch frame, they have the Dutch angle, they have all these techniques of reflecting the characters in mirrors indoors, and like the imagery and the lights. Like it's really good, and it's like it's easy to watch for someone who is not used to Thai bills.
mm,
It's easy for someone who has been watching just Western media to just switch and try this one and be like, yeah, okay, this is good.
mm.
This does not make you tired while watching it.
Yeah,
It doesn't make you feel like you're losing your time,
I
like you're
think
wasting your time.
I think there's a couple of things in that. I think one is that I'm going to give them a pass a little bit because I think the fact that there's so much interest in BLs that these days, that there's more funds as well available, which means more money to be spent, so better production. But also, I think also they're giving the jobs to just better directors and better producers, and like the ones who seem to be putting out these really good. They're like very either the same people or similar sort of directors, and we're getting like really interesting new stuff. Some of the ones who've been around for a long time, their stuff still feels the same, just with more like production value onto it.
Hmm.
But I think as well, the other thing is it's interesting to talk about it in like the, I guess, meet expectations, because this we, you know, I don't understand anyone's discourse with dangerous romance, but there are
I
a
was
lot of
about to
people out
jump
there.
into this, so
Yeah.
I will follow hot on your heels.
Yeah, there are a lot of people into this who obviously don't think it meets their expectations for whatever reason. But I feel that's because the expectations for BLs these days is not really, I don't know. I'm like, is it just that the people who are the loudest are into like certain things? I don't know. I'm just I'm like, how do I word this? But yeah, I just yeah, I feel like some of the expectations that people have put on this show are more about like their personal interest than like actually the show itself. Um and so I don't know how that really fits in the scheme of things, but it does definitely seem to be, there's definitely a trend, obviously, of more adult, more kind of like risque is maybe not the right word, but let's say risque kind of BLs where the focus is definitely more on the sexuality side than like the romance or the story or whatever. I feel
That's
like
probably a good way to put it, because a lot of opinions that you hear or see online, like, very subjective. I think it's all right sometimes to have this opinion that, the show is okay, it's just not what you wanted.
mm, but that's
But
not really what
this is
we're
not
getting
what's
though.
happening. Yeah.
Mm. We're getting it's bad because they didn't do this or they didn't do that, and I feel like they're putting this like unrealistic expectation on perhaps every show that really doesn't need to be there. And you said something interesting, Morella. You said that this was a show that like someone who had perhaps never watched a BL before could comfortably watch, could like slide into, and I feel like Not Me's like that as well. Like it's
Yeah,
not,
yes.
I feel like and it's interesting because dangerous romance, clearly, I mean, it's in the fucking title of the show, romance. Clearly, it's a romance, but it's also, and the main part is like their love story, but it's also, it didn't feel like a BL to me, and what I don't, and I don't know how to explain that in a way that's not, that people are going to like necessarily understand what I mean, because I know there are people out there who didn't like aspects of it. They didn't think it was BL enough.
It doesn't use like BL tropes. It just
Yeah,
uses cinema tropes.
yeah, and
And
I
it,
just,
it uses the cinema tropes well.
yeah, I feel like, and the same thing happened with Not Me. Like I feel like you with Not Me it was different because the show was more about the social commentary than the, like, the romance was secondary. Like it was still a
Yeah.
huge part of the story and everything, but it was like, I know lots of people who watched it and really liked it and who had never watched a BL before and didn't really like have much of an opinion in regards to that. Like this was like their gateway into BLs, I guess. But, and I feel like Dangerous Romance did that well as well. As you said, they didn't have the tropes, so it didn't feel like your normal BL. So I guess I kind of like circled around to my own answer from before. But Cass, you were saying you wanted to talk about this expectations that's currently going on at the moment.
Yes, so I know I'm going to come back to the racy versus intimate later, so I'm going to table that. But I want to talk about just expectations of the show more broadly, because I think there's a lot of people who fell in love with the pilot trailer and forgot that the pilot trailer is a half-formed idea that has not actually been fleshed out and is not a guarantee of what the show is going to be like.
Mm.
So people held in their minds this mock trailer that was made well before they started filming and decided that because the show was not actually that like gritty, dark, like enemies to lovers, that it was bad. And I feel like they judged it by that over and over and over again instead of judging the actual story that was told. And if you read the synopsis of what Dangerous Romance is actually about, I think it told that story so beautifully. Like it is a story of two people finding each other who were both lost and felt completely alone in the world, and they found like a purpose and meaning and love in each other. And I think this is one of the best examples of that I've ever seen. It is a gorgeous romance, and it's such a shame that so many people think it's like bad because they wanted a like 10 episode arc of bullying and hatred and punching. And I'm sorry, like that's not what it was. And you need to, like, as Joy would say, go take a walk and come back and watch it with like a fresh mindset and see what a good story it is.
Mm. And I mean, the other thing I didn't really understand as well is that, as you said, like people who didn't like it for whatever reason, like held on, like they just kept coming back. Like why would you, why would you come back for something that you're not enjoying? Like I don't understand that. Like I don't understand why you would come back for second helpings of something that you think tastes bad. Like that's just like life's too short for that. Hence my go
Because
out and
it's
take a
actually
walk.
good. It keeps you hooked, okay?
Yeah, well
They
maybe
couldn't
that
let
was it.
go.
Maybe it was pissing them off enough that they like felt incensed, and maybe they should have started a podcast. But it was, yeah, it's, I think Cass, you're right. There's definitely a lot to that. These false expectations, the same thing, and funnily enough, once again I'm bringing up Not Me again, but the same thing happened with Not Me. Like if you watch the pilot trailer for Not Me and what we actually got, it's completely different. Like there's so many scenes and bits in it that aren't the same. But and as you said, it's meant to be like that. And the pilot trailer for Dangerous Romance, the grittiness and that, I really loved that. Like Meryl and I both loved that. It was kind of indie. It was great. And now that I think about it, it was probably just because they didn't have funds at the time. So it was just like, this was like the camera work and the stuff that they did because they wanted to do as much as they could, but this is what we were ended up with. And then yeah, people didn't people didn't like the change. People didn't like it when they got more money.
But also, like, if you watch that, like, Kang is smoking, Kang beats the crap out of Siloam, Kang does drugs.
Mm.
Like, that's not our, like, it's just fundamentally such a different story. And I
Yeah.
think maybe GMTV should learn from the interest in that and revisit it later. But I really liked the characters we got and how they interacted with each other. And so I just wish people could separate that original memory and watch this
Yeah.
anew.
I mean, the other thing I think is tricky, is a tricky one. And once again, going back to Not Me as well, but people who read the book have these expectations as well. It's not just, I think, the pilot trailer. If some of people have read the book, then they expect certain things to happen a certain way. And I've read a bit of the book, and it's quite like horrible. Like I would have had trouble if we had gotten Pilot Kang with the violence and the all the rest of it. Like I don't know how you marry that back with like them falling in love. Like I'm not quite sure for me. Like I know there are aspects of relationships, or there are some other BLs already where like there's violence in the relationship before they end up together or whatever. But this is different. This was like there was literally no reason for, like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. I would have probably had issues with a lot of it if it had actually come to pass, I think. So but that is true. People get hung up on that. And maybe that's a maybe that
It's one thing to read stuff like that, and it's completely another thing to see it on screen,
oh yeah, it's
to see
way
it
more
played by actors.
yeah, way more confronting, isn't it? Because as I said, like I found it really difficult the first time we watched the bullying stuff. I with Otto and that, and just like the way they spoke to him and stuff like that, I was very uncomfortable with a lot of it. And I couldn't help but feel, like, how do you feel when you're playing that part as well? Like, I hope that they're like not a method actor, and that they are, that he can like separate himself from what's going on. And then we got the behind the scenes, and they were also sweet, and I felt better about it. But like, it's hard to see that. You're very correct. It's in your imagination. It's in your imagination. It's whatever. But when it's right in front of you, it's very confronting.
Well, I remember there were people in episode 3, I think including at least one of you, who thought Kang was going to leave Siloam at the steakhouse after having racked the bill up.
Oh my god, I
And
so
Mhm.
did.
and to me, I had already been like at wit's end with him in 2, and the moment that he saves Siloam, like I was able to look at him anew, and I was ready for the arc of him getting better. Had
Mm,
he regressed and done something like that and humiliated Siloam, I don't think they ever would have won me back over to him. Like that
mm.
would have just been so horrible and I would have been lost. So I just don't know how you could have a like 7 or 8 episode arc of him being that terrible and have us still want them to be together at the end.
Yeah. I think obviously the characters they've given us are slightly different from the original concept, which is good because they fit. It fits the story better. It fits, their expectations of each other better. As you said, it would be very hard to accept it, but also to like respect Salom's character if he had, you know, I guess, lowered himself in a
Well,
way,
that's so true.
you know. And so like
He's
if you
right.
don't respect him and you don't respect Kang, then what the fuck are we doing? Like, why are we watching this? I definitely probably would
Like
have let go.
how could we and everyone else put him like on that pedestal that he was on, obviously, if he accepted that kind of treatment. And
And the
now
thing,
he's vulnerable willingly
yeah.
with that person. I mean,
And the thing is, as well, is like the whole reason why Kang likes him is because he's not a fucking doormat. Like, it's the whole reason why he pays attention to him, because he's different to everybody else. If Salom had just become Kang's punching bag, then, you know, like, he's just like everybody else. Like, there's a scene in I think it's episode 1, like, where they go and, you know, like, they're in the lineup to get to get like a drink or whatever, and Kang and his gang, and I'm never getting tired of saying that, are basically like, just, you know, they jump the line, they get their drinks, and then they go, kind of thing. And you see this scene of them going over to sit down, where at a table which is full of other students, and they just, like, they see them coming and automatically get out of the way. Like, he must be so used to people doing his bidding. And that, like, so when he came up against Salom, who, like, won't back down, it's no wonder he gets so fascinated. It's no wonder he's, like, so confused and conflicted. And then it becomes this thing that he most admires about, like, and loves about Salom. And then, of course, later on, when Salom's not acting that way, it like, completely fucks him. Like, he just can't. I keep swearing a lot. Sorry, I'm feeling very impassioned. He just can't, like, deal when he's not, like, his Salon, which is this, you know, brave, bold, kind of sassy guy that just doesn't back down. Yeah, so the next question was, what kind of, like, this is both a question from Thirst, but it was also from I'm gonna totally butcher this name as well. I feel like I should have given all this stuff to you guys. Katrina PTRV on Tumblr, and they asked, my question for Dangerous Romance Celebration is, what type of roles would you like to see Perth Chimon in next? And if you could choose a remake of a BL series for them, which one would it be? So there's like a two-parter question. And oh god, I just lost it. And Thirst basically said a similar thing. They asked, what do you want to see next for Perth and Chimon as a pairing or individually as actors? So there's like a three-parter there.
Can I jump in on the last question first? Because I have
Course.
very strong feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it'd be fun to see them, like, continue to do ensembles, but that they absolutely should stay together, and that everyone who thinks that they should be separated is wrong. So they have said over and over again, especially Perth, that, like, Perth just said last week, like, working with Chimon is a safe zone for him. They both have said they only came into BL because they knew that the other would be their partner. So I just wanted it on record that they should continue to work together if they're going to be paired with anyone. So that is my strongest feeling here.
I mean, Perth literally said that, like, what didn't he say? Like, he did the whole, like, windmill wind thing, but with, like, him and Chimon.
Yes.
Yeah, I think for me, like, as a pairing, we've spoken about this as well. I would love to see something even darker and more adult. And when I say more adult, I don't mean, like, once again, I don't mean the racy. I just mean, like, as them as adults, because they are adults, you know. And it does get really old when we do see these adult actors playing, like, you know, university students, or in this case high school kids. I can't believe they played high school kids, but they actually did such a good job. Like, I didn't watch them once and think these guys are, like, you know, in their 20s. I didn't look at them and see that at all. So they did a really good job. But I would like to see a drama where it's darker, where they're, like, you know, more into their adulthood. And we've spoken about this, like, something like A Manner of Death, or there's a Korean drama that Morel and I like called Flower of Evil. Something like that would be amazing. I also want something like that for, like, Off Gun as well. So my second my second wish list thing would be a family affair, like, ensemble cast with the four of them. I think would be amazing. They would just, like, kill us with their acting. Morella, do you have a wish list?
it's funny. I also have Flower of Evil mentioned because I want to see them play in something very dark. They're impressive actors, and I'd choose something challenging for them if if it was up to me. And like they need to play some roles where they can showcase their range.
Yeah. And I feel like all four of them actually, like I used to, like if you'd have asked me this question 12 months ago or even 2 years ago, I would have said that Gun and Shimon would be amazing at playing unhinged characters. And we've seen a bit of that from Gun in like The Gifted and things like that. But I'm now of the mindset that I also think Off and Perth would also play unhinged really, really well. And it would almost be really cool to see them in something where essentially, like, I don't know, maybe there's a serial killer or like whatever, and they are just like all suspects because they're all fucking like nuts in their own way. And you just don't know, like, you don't know. And maybe it's none of them, maybe it's all of them. You just don't know, like, who done it, because they're all so twisted, and I can imagine them having so much fun with something like that. And of course, like, make it a romance because like it's a BL, so why not? But yeah,
Although in such a story, the romance would be secondary.
it would be. Oh yeah, it would be
The plot would
secondary.
be,
Well, I
yeah.
think I said you could do a really, because, well, we know that neither Perth or Chimon would take a just like pure rom-com. Like they've said over and over again, they escalated the like drama and angst in Dangerous Romance. They really want to be tested and have to prove their stuff. So I think like a legal thriller where there is like a serial killer or murderer, and you have the danger and fear and potentially like moral ambiguity, they could
Mhm.
really have fun with. Like I'd love to see where one was kind of like a lawyer or a police officer and the other was maybe a suspect because they were found with the body or something like that.
Mm.
Um, or you could have a really interesting like sports AU where like one of them, like Perth, is facing the end of their career because they've had an injury maybe, or they could be hooked on painkillers. I think you could really play with genre and give them some meaty roles that they could sink their teeth into.
Yeah, and what about like for them solo, like as solo actors? I'm like, I pretty much am open for anything because I think that they're both really, really talented, and so I feel like it doesn't really matter what it is moving forward. Like there are certain actors within GMM, but also like outside of GMM. Specifically, we're talking about BL at the moment. So like in the BL industry, that I watch whatever they do. I don't always like it, and I don't always finish it, but I at least always give it like a go because. And usually, if I stop watching it or whatever, or if it's not for me, it's normally got nothing to do with them as an actor. It's like maybe the show is just really bad, like the bad writing, bad script, whatever. But I feel like for them, they've earned that pass for me where I'm probably going to, from now on, going to like devour everything that they're in and, see where that takes me. And I feel like more often than not, it's going to take me in a good place because I think that they are both in the position in their careers where they maybe have a little bit more, discretion as to what they're doing. They obviously, like, directors know that they have this range, and I feel like that gives them a little bit of power in regards to what they're choosing. And I feel like they're not going to choose something that's bad. That's my interpretation of them. So I feel like it's a good bet. Like that, whatever they do, I'm going to probably like. It may not be my favorite thing in the world, but I mean, I'll get obsessed with it, like Dangerous Romance. But I feel like I'll enjoy it. Like it'll be entertaining, or it'll be interesting, or it'll be like whatever. And so I'm eager to see what's next. I'm really, really interested to see what's next actually for them as a coupling, because there was so much negativity with their pairing over this drama, and I really want to see like what they do next. And I mean, obviously it's an opportunity for them to shut the haters up, but at the same time, like I I'm okay with people not enjoying it because it was really good, and I just feel like it's their loss, honestly. But I am really, really, like, I can't wait for the second half of the, part two of the announcements for the shows, because I feel like they left so much out. Like there was hardly any solo dramas, and I did see someone online talking about that they were concerned that there were certain pairings that weren't going to, and I believe Perth and Shimon were one. They mentioned they weren't going to get a drama next year because the second half's probably going to be more like, single driven sort of dramas or whatever. But I mean, they've already said that they've got something else coming out, so I don't think that that's something that people need to be worried about.
The photo book, I think they got released yesterday, is a pretty strong sign from GMTV that they're committed to them together.
Yeah, they have. They've invested.
They have faith in them. Yeah,
Yeah.
rightfully so. There's a question about them playing a remake of a BL.
Ah,
What should it be? What BL to choose? I'm personally not a fan of remakes. I prefer original stories. I want to see new stuff.
yeah. I'm the same. I don't think there's like really no BLs that I necessarily would want a remake of. The the only one that comes to mind is one that I was talking to you about the other day, Kess. It's that Ian of Love Tosara. I don't know how you pronounce it. It's like part one of the series that Love Mechanic slots into. I would like to see it like remade, like they remade Love Mechanics, but with different actors, or at least one of the, maybe they could keep one of the actors that was in it and replace one of them. But that is not a drama that I would put Perth or Chimon in. So that's not a suggestion for them. But that's the only one that I can think of that I wouldn't mind, like so I'm a bit like Morella. I would rather something new and fresh for them. But I don't, yeah. I do think it would be interesting for, like, we keep seeing Thai BLs are doing it. Some of the Korean BLs are doing it as well, where they're like remaking like the Japanese ones, or we had this year, we had the Korean BL contingent remaking YRU, which is a Thai one. And I feel like, that there's an opportunity for maybe something like that, but I wish they would look at different stuff. Like we mentioned Flower of Evil, like there are so many good dramas out there. I don't feel like they need to necessarily look at something that was always a BL, or that was always like
I
written.
still I don't think they should remake Flower of Evil.
Oh
I
no,
mean, I
I'm
think they
not
should take a
yeah, I'm not saying they should either, but I'm just saying, like, if you were going to make remakes, I don't feel like you necessarily need to constrain it just to like existing BLs. It could be
I
whatever.
really don't like this trend of making remakes of everything.
I'm the
What
same.
needs
I
to
feel like if
be?
it was good in the first place, then if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm the same. I would rather something new. Kess, so I think we have one more question.
Yes, so thank you. I believe it said Lorray, but also Rain. I know you go by for your really thoughtful question. This was a long question. I'm gonna like very high level paraphrase it. There's a Tumblr user named the Queen of Sastile who does pretty thoughtful analysis of different shows and potential dominant sadist slash submissive dynamics. And Lorraine teased this out a little bit. Knowing that King and Siloam are in high school, do we see any of these trends coming out now? And I know, Zoe, you have the most thoughts on this of any of us, so I'm going to tap you in.
I mean, I wouldn't say that I have thoughts per se, because I actually don't really know much about that topic, if I'm being honest. However, what I do know and what I do understand about it, I don't really see it in Kang and Selim's relationship. Mainly because I feel like, I believe in her post she was referring to Kang as the dominant, and I just feel like their relationship is too fluid in the way that they deal with one another, and the roles that they play for one another. And I'm not specifically referring to their role play, although however that is also part of it. So I have this thing for couples, like it's like my sweet spot, where first off, I mean, I love tortured couples, that's a whole other topic, but I have this like sweet spot for couples where they become like what the other person needs, and somehow intrinsically that shift becomes the thing that they actually need themselves. And I feel like it's not a fixed state if it's a relationship that's really like equal and even, and I feel like theirs is. And so I feel like it's like a back and forth, it's not this one person only doing one thing, maintaining one role in the relationship or in the dynamic. I feel like, they have this, it's not just one person, like they're doing this for each other. And it shifts, like it shifts all the time. um and I feel like they're both everything that the other person needs, and but by doing this they're fulfilling their own desires as well. Like it's really interesting. It's what makes them perfect for each other, because it's like this person needs this, or this person, like this person, like person, let's say for example, person A needs this and person B wants to provide it. Intrinsically they need to provide it, so you're getting this need versus want, and it's like it's usually like they're like puzzle pieces that fit together, because the thing that maybe, and it's not even just needs and wants, it can also be expressed in things like, you know, what maybe one person or one character lacks and the other person has, like, you know, excess of this for whatever reason, and so they balance each other in that way. um and I just feel like for Kang and Salom, they do this thing where they're fairly even in their care and their acts of service and stuff. And I don't think that Kang is, he doesn't come across to me as more domineering than Salom. In actual fact, I probably would say the reverse is more true. But this is once again just my opinion, and I don't know anything about that that world. So I can't, you know, I can't say I'm right, I can't say I'm wrong, but this is just how I feel and what I've seen and what I do know. And I just feel like if we're talking about power dynamics, I feel that Salom has more power because Kang actually opens himself up and makes himself vulnerable in a way, like he's not making himself weak or anything, but he has like this open vulnerability for like way longer than Salom does. And I just don't feel like their relationship um fits that. I feel like they shift too much in the power dynamic. Like one moment, one person is you know, caring and everything for the other, and then the next the other one is. And often I feel like with them, you know, they do it in their role play and stuff as well. It looks like one person is actually doing, you know, the service, or the is the I guess the and once again I don't know terminology either, so but like
It
is
looks
the
like Salom is the submissive, but he's actually leading the scene.
yeah, he's actually leading it. And a perfect example of that is like the shifts that happen in the final scene. It's and it happens a bunch of times in this. But he, yeah, and it's like he often looks more submissive, but he actually has more power over Kang than, and I mean I think my understanding of Dom submissive dynamics is actually that's often the case, that the submissive actually does have more power over the Dom than, you know, because they it's just something to do with it. But I don't know enough, I haven't read enough, or, you know, I'm not
I read
experienced.
about that about and about the fact that it's debatable. Like
Yeah,
no one is sure. There is a no
I
correct
feel like
answer.
I feel like it's one of those things. It's like, you know, this is a form of art, let's say, right? So it's a form of art expression, whatever, and art is open to interpretation. So if that is something that someone from that lifestyle reads into this, then I don't think it's wrong. I just don't see it myself personally. But then, as I said, I don't know enough about it. Maybe if I knew more about it, I might agree, or I might have further insights as to why I don't think it fits. But I just feel like if we're talking about one person having a really strict role and another person having another, I don't see that in this coupling. And I don't think it has anything to do with them being high school kids either, because I feel like, I mean, they're already, you know, it's funny to me that people are talking about, you know, the lack of intimacy and the lack of whatever. These boys are like already kinky. There's so much role playing going on between two of this. It's not even friggin' funny. Like way back, way back when, I think it's like episode 2 or something, or is episode 1,
It's one. Yeah.
yeah, where, so once again, where Kane goes to the car wash and Salom is already calling him Mr. Customer. like
Yep.
you might as well just call him Sir and be done with it. And okay, that, no, I heard that come out my mouth and I'm like, okay, well there's, maybe that's where the people are getting the Dom thing from, because he's calling him Sir. But then you have this dynamic, we have this shift in the dynamic where where Kang is the submissive to Salom's tutor role. So, and he very much needs to have that like positive reinforcement. Like he's literally always asking for um accolades is not the right word. What's the word I'm looking for, Morella? You know
Feedback.
this. Feedback, yes, he's always asking for feedback. Like he wants a grade, he wants a score from Salom, and that doesn't to me match a Dom personality type. And I don't know if I
Yeah.
answered that, but that's my answer. Do you guys have anything to add?
I actually do. I didn't know I would have thoughts on this. So I'm going to talk about the final scene in great length. But I totally agree that on the surface they're playing one thing that's closer to this line of thought, whereas Siloam is actually like leading every second of it. But I do think where maybe this ask is true is in episode 11. The entire arc is Kang learning that sometimes he needs to be the one to take charge and take the lead, and as we frequently say, like, man the fuck up. So like throughout episode 11, he's the one that's like, you need to come with me, like, I've booked the hotel, I'm going to take care of you, um I'm going to be in charge here. And I think they're going to switch back and forth throughout their lives, who's kind of playing that role and who's leaning on the other the most. But I do think in episode 11 is when he truly does have to be the one to step up and give the orders and like make Siloam follow his lead. So I can see it a tiny bit there.
I feel like they both have something that like they're leading in.
Yeah.
Salom responds for the direction of where they're going as a couple, as like people, basically. While Kang responds, like, Kang's responsibility is the protection. He's the protector. And like this is where they lead in each other's life. This is where they need each other.
But I feel like that shifts though as well. We see that shift with them. We see, like you have, as I said, we see Selom doing these acts of service like constantly all the way through, and then we see Kang doing it as well. Like he wants to do it. People I think miss when he does it because his stuff isn't as maybe as obvious, or it's not written the same way. Like him trying really hard with his study and that initially is not because he wants a good grade or because he is, like, I mean, yes, he has the deal with his father and all that, but his father ruins that by like giving him the bike. So there's no his acts of service in regards to trying to get like straight grades or whatever is because he doesn't want anything bad to happen to Salom. So there's definitely like these things that they both do, and I just feel like it's because they're so different. Sometimes you miss them, and I feel like, as you said, Kess, they're going to constantly shift back and forth. In their life, and they're already doing it like at this young. They've already worked out that they need to navigate the fact that they don't always have to be like strong. You don't have to always be the person who's in charge. You don't have to always be like for Salom. That was a really hard lesson to learn. Like he wasn't being vulnerable because like he's so used to taking care of everything and being the responsible one and all the rest of it, that like the idea of leaning on somebody else was so foreign to him, and he was so afraid to do it because like what if you get used to it and then it all goes away? Like what if I can't look after myself anymore because I've forgotten how to do it because I got used to having this person who took care of me, and then you've got this person who essentially all they want to do is take care of Salom, but at the same time he doesn't really know how to do that because his like the people who are meant to teach him that, well, his father wasn't doing it and his mother is dead, so it's like he's learning as he's going, he's stumbling all over the place, but his instinct is to provide this care. Like he wants to do it, and it's just and of course when he feels like he's on the right path and he's doing the right thing, or he's like, yes, this is it, and then Salom is like, no, back off. So the stuff I love about like episode 11 and that is when we see Salom like finally like handing the reins over to Kang, and Kang actually picking them up and going like, yeah, I can do this. And so that is to me the fact that they keep that they can switch like that and both be the protector, both be in charge, both be vulnerable, whatever, doesn't really fit the dom sub narrative that I understand.
We also had a question from Kess. We almost forgot about
Oh,
it.
we did too, and I don't remember what it was.
Like Kang ran away from tutoring in the beginning.
Oh, so like after he's been told off and had to apologize to Salom, like that section there before he sees like Salom.
For how desperately he wants expectations and seems to need them, there is this immediate, like, almost fear response where he runs away a few times when Salom is his tutor. So what do you think is the explainer for that?
I think there's probably a couple of facets to that. One would be potentially because this happens after he sees Salom at his vulnerability. Yeah,
No, before.
it happens
In
before.
episode 2, Cylon briefly is his tutor, and for how fascinated King was, he like tries to get out. You have that whole scene where Cylon's like on the bike yelling equations in his ear. Um,
Yeah. I feel like partly it's just because it's a punishment. Like they were playing a game and he lost. He's being a sore loser. I think is part of it because basically the only reason why Salom accepts the job is because Kang won't leave him the fuck alone and he's like tormenting him in the library again, yeah? And so he rings grandma
mhm.
and is like, oh, do it. And then, like that's not something that I guess it's not what he wanted. I mean, he's been cruising through. Why would he bother when like no one's paying attention? Like his father doesn't care. So like his whole like like world there or his whole mindset there is that he is above it all, I think. And I feel like having Salom who has like kind of I guess gotten like one over him, it's irritating and it's like reminding him that he wasn't able to sort of subjugate him. And it's funny because I actually wrote some stuff down about like episode. Okay, so it's actually in episode 1. So this happens earlier on, but I just thought maybe this factors into his mindset. So, like, we get the scene where it's the start of the confrontation. So before the kiss, basically, and I'm I actually am gonna like interrupt myself, but I also wonder, like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I kind of want to say, like, want to talk more about that first initial kiss that they have because I would be curious to know, like, what people's thoughts, maybe his reaction, his thoughts about that were, because his actions after that are kind of interesting to me. But I also wonder, like, if he did feel anything besides, like, abject horror of like what was going on and the fact that everyone was witnessing it. Um, he there could intrinsically be this like discomfort of being alone with him as well because he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. But I one of the things I thought was, as I said, interesting about in episode 1 is when we get the scene where they make Otto ring him, and then he's like basically yells out, "Don't come, they're going to beat you up," or whatever. I don't know if you guys noticed it. I didn't notice it until I was kind of like flicking through it this afternoon. Is that when Selom enters the old gym, you get this like aerial kind of like sky view for like looking down on that area, and there's all these boxes piled up and all this stuff. And it's almost like a castle, like an old broken down castle. That's what it reminded me of. And then you see Kang, and he's like languishing on this couch, this old couch, with Otto on the ground, basically like at his feet. And it had this really kind of like like this is a mini castle and he's the king, right? And I just thought it was really interesting because we had all this thing like the words he kept using, like and I'm assuming the translation is correct, about like prostrating himself. He kept wanting Selim to do that, which is basically like bow, like get down on your knees, which is something like a king would ask for. And I just, yeah, the imagery that they used there I thought was really, really interesting. And I feel like at this point in time when he's given Selom his tutor, like he's not in the right mindset. He hasn't got to that point yet where he's like got out of his own way. Like he's so I guess still in his like selfish like whatever mode here. It's not until he sort of sees Selom vulnerable and he realizes, he gets some self-reflection, that he like starts considering other things. So I feel like it's potentially that he has this mentality. And I one of the things I thought was really interesting though is that like Kang is like, as I said, Kang to me in this scene is like the king. And I love that he actually becomes like Kang, like the windmill who actually turns for someone else. Like he becomes this person who I feel like he always was, but he lost his way and he like had turned into this, you know, maniacal dictator. And then, you know, it's like it it was at that time the only thing he had, because he had nothing else, like from his standpoint. You know, he's a boy who had everything but had nothing. And then, you know, the things that he wanted from Salom were like not things that you could necessarily like hold in your hands or like whatever. And it's just, yeah, I think at that point in time him running away is more about the fact that he's like kind of like spite, like bratty, like doesn't want to, you know, he's not interested. He's just not interested. And I feel like, you know, either Salom maybe makes him feel uncomfortable because of like, you know, stuff maybe, but also he got the upper hand. And, you know, I mean, not only has Salom at this point constantly gotten the upper hand, but he also got to see like essentially Kane kind of prostrate himself in front of him, because Grandma made him apologize. And Grandma didn't just make him apologize like to Salom, but she made him do it in front of like the adults and just like everybody in the room. So, you know, at that point in time, he thinks he's above Salom. He thinks he's worth more than Salom and all the rest of it. So he's not in the right mindset. And it's so funny because later on he puts Salom on such a pedestal, but it's so funny that here he thinks he's so above him. And then later on, it's like, you can tell he's concerned that he's not good enough and that he's, you know, and yeah. So anyway, I don't know that I answered the question, but anyway, that was my thoughts on it.
I do want to shout out, there's a really fantastic meta piece that I'll share with you, Zoe, later, because it sounds like they're on the same page as you, called Cardboard Kingdom. It's either by J.Q. Louise or William Rikers. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's about how he's built this whole kingdom and is putting himself as a king because he feels weak, but it is inherently a unstable, like vulnerable kingdom because it's made of cardboard. And it's he wants that power because he feels weak and helpless in his own life. And I think what's really beautiful about that is he finds power in his relationship with Siloam. Like together they've created this like really beautiful shared purpose together.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. Their love both makes them extremely weak, which is like where the dangerous romance comes in, but it also makes them really, really strong and brave as well. I love the idea of that meta, and it's interesting too, because that's probably what the producers and the writers and the directors are going for. The fact that they literally built, like, I challenge you guys and like listeners to go back and just have a look at that scene.
That's
It's,
a really cool observation.
yeah, it's like when you look at it, that's what it looks like to me. I was like, wow. And it doesn't look like it's not perfect. It's not a brand new, brand spanking, you know, top of the art, top of the line castle. It's like some of the boxes have fallen over. Like it's already crumbling. Like, because Salom has come into this and he's not going to let it stand anymore. And yeah, and that is why I feel like Kang is getting, like, he's escalating at this point. Like he starts to escalate, and then we get, okay, you know, obviously the confrontations we get, and yeah, it does crumble. Actually, I'm curious because I didn't get a chance to like go through everything, but I'm actually curious now to go back, because I know that they revisit this space when after Salom is like loses that job because of the like weird post online that's basically like calling him a pedophile or whatever. They go back to this scene and that, and of course Kang once again is sitting on his throne, and they have this like confrontation and everything. It's like where he hits him with the money and stuff. I don't remember the block boxes being built up as high around there. So I'm really curious to actually go back and see that, to see if it's like more leveled out. Because if it is, that to me is, I mean, it could be that the production team were lazy that day and couldn't bother stacking everything back up again, or it could be a visual representation of the fact that his kingdom is crumbling around him. And the other thing I liked about the scene where, as I said, you initially saw this, was I feel like it was this whole idea of, as I said, kingdom being represented as well. You had all of these like people around watching, and when they were jeering and all that, they reminded me of like medieval times where they used to do that. The mobs used to love like when someone was about to get drawn and quartered, you know, and they would all like heckle and like beg for it, because it was like, you know, their lives were all so shit that seeing someone else suffer was like entertaining to them, because they were just glad it wasn't them. And it was almost as well like there was a couple of the girls that were really like, you know, like strip it or take it off, whatever they're saying, and they were really kind of like almost jester like as well in their, you know, they were so you know, kind of over the top. And yeah, it's funny because it was very well done, and I never even noticed it the first time I watched it. Like I didn't even see it.
Like the peasants gathered for the public shaming or for
Yes,
hanging.
exactly. And it's so funny because that other scene that I was talking about is so different because it's literally just the two of them. And as I said, I feel like their bubble started actually quite early on.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
It got personal.
Yeah, it did. It changed. It shifted from this like negative space to like this positive space.
Yeah, I agree. He ran from tutoring because at that time, I don't think he was committed to the idea of improving himself. He didn't have the revelation from the end of episode 2, so he was not self aware yet.
Mm.
Because at the end of episode 2, he sees those guys beating Salom and he kind of sees himself in them, and he has this realization about Salom's life and why he behaved like that, and how he didn't want to go down this road to be bully Kang anymore. He realized that in himself. But before that, he was so bitter and lost and feeling dumb and worthless and used and unseen. And then when he helped Salom, he got high on the protector vibes, and he got addicted pretty fast to that vulnerable part of Salom that he showed to him.
Mm.
And I think later that's why he showed up. Like he even in episode 4, he wasn't interested in his grades. He just felt responsible. He only started taking the lessons and the tutoring seriously when his grandma told him that Salem would lose the job if he didn't pass the exams.
So
Yeah,
true.
and only when he started receiving all this support from Salom and he got this wind and windmill imagery formed in his head, and he got this expectation set on him from Salom, he realized that he actually could set a goal for himself and achieve it as long as Salom was by his side, believing in him.
Yeah, and I feel like to go hand in hand with that, that around this time as well, he's starting to realize, even though we have this like, you know, denial spin out where he starts chasing Pim Far, but I feel like even though he hasn't maybe admitted it to himself subconsciously, he's already acknowledged the fact that this is this person that he wants to be with, and to be with this person, this smart person who's going to go places, who's going to do things, and to do it on off your own back and not have someone like pay for it or use your privilege or like whatever, because he's getting to that point now where that's not what he wants anymore. He needs to try, you know, and he wants that approval as well already from Selom. Like it just said he needs the feedback. He loves how smart Selom is, but he also hates that he's that much smarter than him as well.
We also got a message from Naomi Dash Obsessions from Tumblr. It's a really nice message. We're going to post it on Tumblr. I want to say thank you, Naomi. Your feedback is also making our podcast and experience better. And also, this is so much fun because we know we listen to, although it does make it a bit more frightening. But we're always looking forward to your reactions and tags. And thank you for the very nice message.
Yeah, they're like cute little love letters. It's like when we get messages from Kaz and she's like, I love it when you did this. Or it's like, yeah. It's like we're getting feedback. We're getting a grade and we're enjoying it. And suddenly we've become king.
We're excited to do better and do more interesting stuff.
I also want to shout Naomi out that she has pretty consistently since day one been such a public vocal like cheerleader for Dangerous Romance, and I think has really built a lot of community in Tumblr and generated excitement for the show, which has been much needed sometimes because Tumblr really loves to hate on Dangerous Romance. So thank you for all the joy you've brought me personally, Naomi.
And also Drama Biscuit sent us a question. How do you think Kang and Salom will handle any future conflicts that may arise in their relationship?
Okay, so to start with, I feel like it's kind of probably not really an easy question to answer because I feel like, we could, in a perfect world, we could say, oh yes, they've completely, they're like so tired and they're beyond everything and blah 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 and all the rest of it. But the true honest answer is that shit happens and you never really know how you're going to react to it until it does. So that's like, and that's probably a bit of a cop out answer, but that's like, I feel like that's the truest answer. I do think they're really young, and I feel like potentially they could stumble and fall, and like we all have these things when like things get hard or whatever, we revert to bad behaviors. So I'd like to think that they're both past that, and that there's like these all these things that have happened to them in the episodes, like leading up from sort of like 8 all the way through to like 12, have taught them lessons and skills now that they can, you know, rely on each other better. They can like be more truthful with them, not just each other but themselves, about what they need, about what they want, and not like shut each other out or run away or whatever. But they are both really young, and like they're about to embark on a new part of their life, which is university. And those who went to university or any study, really, even high school, we know that like whenever there's a change is scary. Change makes things different, and you can't always anticipate what's going to happen and how you're going to react to it. I mean, Cass, you wrote a really sweet, cute, jealous Kang fic, and part of that was that Salom had been really busy these days because he's like really smart and he's in like doing projects, and like his student like mentor or whatever was like this older hot guy that Kang didn't really like, and it's like stuff like that happens. And yet like I feel like those kinds of things they could handle really really well, because I feel like they're at that point where they know they love each other. They're pretty much like, they're kind of a little bit disgusting towards the end in regards to like like they're those friends that they make fun of their other friends for being sappy or like over the top, but realistically they're the ones that like everyone's just like, get a room. And I feel like they so like little things I think they'll be fine with, but if something big happened, I don't know, because you don't know how anyone's going to react to any sort of situation.
I feel like they still could have some conflicts, and well, especially in the beginning where they act similar to what they've done before, with Kang being impulsive and Salom retreating into himself. Well, this is what happens, especially in a new relationship. You stumble around like a blind kitten trying to understand what the fuck is going on, where you are. You're trying to understand who is this person that you're interacting with. You're getting to know the real them and not the assumptions that you made from afar, and also getting to know yourself as well. But I think they love each other. They decided already that they're meant for each other and that they're very important to each other, and they will learn to navigate these things the more
Mm,
time they spend together, and they will help each other learn to deal with these situations in a way that
mm.
brings them closer.
I feel like as well that they are actually really lucky. Like another couple who went through the same thing as them may not have such supportive family. So we know that Sapphire might have been a little bit confused about what was going on at the end with Salom and Kang, but he's never gonna have a problem with it, I don't think. Not after everything. And we know that Grandma and Dad, well, Grandma ships it, but we also know that Dad supports it. So they have this like support system that a lot of people don't have, so that's helpful as well. And it's not even just like a support system, like say Kang having a good backup system. Like they love Salom, like you see that in the graduation scenes. They've adopted him, much like we have adopted Kess. But yeah, so they they just I feel like they have garnered and like formed these skill sets that they could deal with them. But as Marilla said, they're they're it's definitely possible that they might slip backwards, because it's like it's comfort and it's like known habits.
It's life. It's
It's like,
life.
yeah.
You have your triggers, and it's hard to get over them. And it
Mm,
sometimes you just have to learn to navigate them, and just know yourself and know the
yeah.
other person.
My one thing I'll add, and I'll keep it quick, is if they ever have a like big fight or really regress, I think the number one way that they would deal with it is actually they would role play. So they would give themselves the insulation. It kind of sounds joking, but I'm being serious. I think they like role playing because when they slide into these other characters, they're insulating their feelings and themselves a little bit.
Mm.
And so they can talk about these hard things. And that's why the final scene is important. But I think that they would continue to use this as a tool to mitigate conflict in the future.
Yeah, and in actual fact, it is very like clever and mature of them that they have already worked out a way that they can do that, because most of us, like, even as we get older, we still every now and then act like we're 5 years old because we just haven't quite worked out the right way to communicate with, maybe not necessarily our partner, but like another person. I mean, sometimes it happens like at work, or sometimes at whatever, we meet someone that is so inherently different to us that we just can't understand where they're coming from or whatever, and that usually happens when there's conflict going on. And especially Kang's personality being much like his father, where he is a hothead and jumped, whatever. But I feel like his feelings for Salom sort of like soothe that out a little bit. Yeah, the role playing though is definitely a mature way to. It's funny because you wouldn't think so when you'd like talking about role play, but it's actually a very like it's why they get you to do it when you go and see like psychiatrists or like psychologists, or what, not psychiatrists but like psychologists. They actually do a lot of role play because you have that ability to step out of your normal role and communicate in a way that it's not as dangerous as if you're seeing it from your own perspective.
Yeah, see the situation from the outside.
Mm.
So let's talk about our top 5 scenes.
Yay.
Yeah, so we said top 5, and then Zoe was like, yeah, I can't do 5, we need some honorable mentions. So in actual fact, if we're being honest, it's really like top 7, but like it's top 5 with 2 honorable mentions.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Okay, Kess, do you want to go first for number 7?
Yes, and then let's always go in the same order so that we're
Okay.
not
Confusing.
okay. So my number 7 is I met you. Are you okay? The line in the bathroom in episode 4, because it is the first time that someone has ever pushed Siloam to be like, you are putting up this facade, but I don't believe it, that you are just like fine. And then I also think it just shows like how intensely focused on his like happiness and well-being King is from an early moment. So I love that scene.
Okay, for me, my favorite, or my 7th position goes to the scene in episode 2 in the principal's office, where I feel like we learn so much about Salom in this scene, about like what his boundaries are and what he's willing, like what his integrity is willing or will allow him to do. And also we get, Kang sort of getting his like, you know, nose rubbed in the dirty carpet, so to speak. And I feel like this scene for me, like the main reason, because like I love it for those reasons, but the main reason for me, this scene is where my love for grandma became fully formed.
My number 7 is also a bathroom scene from episode 7, when during a football game, Kang hurts his hand and they meet in the bathroom and they play the windmill game.
Oh, yeah.
I love it's so sweet. I'm melting. It's melting me when I watch it. Yes. Let's go
That's a
for
good
some
one.
more. Thank you. I love yours as well. We're so different.
I know, it's really fun. My number 6 is such a micro moment. It's in episode 10 when they're coming back to Bangkok and Siloam loops his arms fully around Kang. So he has one over the top of Kang's
Oh,
shoulders
on
and
the
one around his waist,
motorcycle.
and he
Yeah.
connects them.
Yeah, that's a great
It's
moment.
wonderful. Yeah.
Okay, so for me, and this I believe was in episode 1, the credit card scene, which I mentioned earlier at the car wash. I love this scene because I had loved all of the scenes before where he kept like sort of, getting it over Kang and everything, and Kang's growing frustration. But also you could see this like growing admiration and like obsession as well, which was really interesting. But I just love this scene. I love the way Chimon played it. As I said, I loved the like weird kind of over the top creepy / clown grin that he gives at him when he's like basically just called him stupid. And yeah, I just loved it. I thought it was fun, and it was once again a fun, interesting scene that was, I feel like, telegraphing their future dynamics.
My number 7 is
Number
the
6.
same as yours, Kess.
Yes.
It's them riding the bike and it's their afterglow. Everything is perfect. They're high on love and happiness and windmills in the distance, and just it's a perfect moment before everything falls apart.
Okay, so now we're into real moments or like non-honorable mention. My number 5, and I had said before I did a rewatch that I thought that I would be kind of immune to this moment because we see it in like every flashback sequence for the rest of the show. But watching the rescue scene in full, I bawled my eyes out. I still think it is such a beautiful scene, how King is bluffing, how he is having these flashbacks to tell us that he's learned his lesson, how Siloam, who's been in love kind of futilely, is getting the boy he missed. I just think the rescue scene is perfect in every way.
Okay, so for me, I've literally got 2 episode numbers here, and I don't understand what the second one is, and clearly I can't have 2 because it's like one moment. But the first thing I have written here is, oh, okay, no, I remember now. Okay, so I felt like I could do 2 because they're basically the same thing. They're connected. So my 5th position is in episode 3. We get that first not awkward, super long staring moment between them, which for me, I feel like I was really interested and I had been intrigued and all the rest of it, but that was the moment where I just went, wow, this is going to be something really fucking amazing, because that should have been like the most awkward thing I've ever seen and should have made me cringe so hard that I was like screaming into my pillow and like, punching the air. But I was just like, I was so in love already with this drama at that moment. And we get it again when they're like in episode 5 where they're in the bathroom.
My number 5 is the moment from episode 4 when they meet at the bus station and Kang tells Siloam that he failed one exam, and Siloam just is so sweet to him, and he is telling him that everything is fine. He encourages him, and Kang is so vulnerable and he's so upset and he wants to protect him. And the second umbrella appears, and he gives him the umbrella, the protection that he wants to give to him. And also, this is the first breakup, the start of the breakup era. So I love it.
That's a really good one. My number 4 is the first love scene. I think it is so beautiful and intimate. I think the hands are just exceptional here. Kang's hand around his throat, Siloam's fingers on his back, the different hands to cheeks. It's just like so romantic and soft, and I really, really love that scene.
It's so funny. I'm reading ahead and I realize I'm like totally cheating with my list, but that's okay. So you mentioned, Cass, that your number 5 was the end of number 2, the scene from the end of number 2, and that is actually my number 4. I bumped it up because I feel like it's that important. The get off my friend scene is what I've called it, and it's for so many reasons. I feel like all of the lessons learned here, but also like the way Kang has this moment where Siloam turns to him for comfort, and it's just like that. I feel like is, we have all this stuff when he sees what's happening, as you said, the bluffing. We see him have the flashbacks and come to this realization that he is kind of a monster, and or he could have been a monster for Siloam, and this you see him, you literally see him have this realization that this is not something he ever wants to see again. But I feel like when he kneels down next to Siloam and Siloam like throws himself at him and like sobs his name and everything, it's like something, you see something kind of like break inside him. Maybe the last piece of his assholeness. That's not a word, but I don't know. It's just like there's just something there, and just then afterwards we're seeing the care of him again. Once again, this is a boy who is not somebody who cares for other people. You know, he's not going around like, you know, tending wounds on his friends. Like, I'm pretty sure if like one of them hurt himself, he would be like, rub some dirt on it and get over it. Like, he wouldn't be, you know, getting a cloth and some ice and, you know, tending to his wounds and stuff. And it's just everything about this scene was amazing.
Number 4 for me was a confession scene in the rain when Siloam confronts Kang.
Oh my
And
god, I
Kang confronts
forgot the
Siloam,
confession scene. Sorry, keep going. I forgot. Oh my god, yes.
but also himself, because he's like, why don't you like Timfa? And we know he was asking himself. And
Or why
the
can't
black
you? Like,
hole,
I think he uses the word can't, which is very
can't you
telling.
like this? Yeah. And so the black holes in their eyes, the intensity, the acting is just perfect. I love it.
Yeah, the why can't you? I never picked up on that. The choice, once again, I love language choices, and hopefully that is the correct translation, because yeah, him saying why can't you like Pimfa, it's like he's talking to himself.
And that also spawned our obsession with the umbrella being protection that we've now talked about so much.
Yes.
So my number 3 is the scene on the bleachers at the end of episode 7. The line, "Thank you so much," from Kang, said tearfully. I feel like that's really showing us that he understands what he did to Siloam in the past, and he appreciates the magnitude of Siloam not only forgiving him, but loving him. And then I also love Siloam calling him my good boy, because he is fundamentally like belong to Siloam. Siloam has loved him so devotedly since he was like 13. And so this dialogue exchange just means so much to me and says a ton about their relationship.
Okay, so for me, my third one is, as I said, this is where I'm cheating. Because, and this is going to be controversial, I know, but my third one is in part the escort like confrontation scene. It's not really just that scene though, like, because I feel like that scene needs to have, you need to include where he actually calls Kang. Like, I feel like that is pivotal to that scene that follows on. But I also want to link this scene. Like, I feel like this is where I'm cheating now. I'm linking this. I'm saying this is my third favorite, but also the scene where they make love for the first time. And I feel like they belong together for so many reasons that I don't know that I could actually articulate them all very well here. So maybe I'll do a meta poster about it. A meta poster, a meta post about it on Tumblr, because I have a lot of thoughts. Thoughts were being thunk, and I was just like, I feel like you can't really have one without the other, and because there's this like weird parallel between the scenes we have when they first make love. We have you know, Selom gifting himself to Kang essentially, not just like in words but also like in deed, and then we have this like money throwing in this, you do whatever you want. It's sort of similar, but it's so dark and it's so twisted, and it's just, yeah. I
So which one is it, Zoe? Oh, I could you please one more time? Which scene is it?
I'm like, you're gonna make me pick. I'm gonna have to go with the sweet. Of course, I'm gonna have to go with the them making love. But I feel like they both belong together in my list.
Okay.
Please write that meta.
So the end of episode 2 for me is number 3. Kang's world turning upside down. It's a pivotal moment for his character when the bully takes the role of the protector, and it's Salom's first breakdown, and this is the first time we see him vulnerable.
I'm glad we all had one shared scene, at least.
It's so funny how the difference level of importance we gave it though. Like, it's slowly getting down the list.
Well, aren't we
getting
going?
up.
We're escalating to most important, right?
Yeah. No,
Okay,
that's what I
okay.
mean. I mean, it's like we. What I'm saying is like, you thought it was like this important. I thought it was more important, and Morella's going, no, it's even more important than that.
Well, these are my favorites. I don't know that I would say they are most plot important, so that's an interesting distinction.
Well, I think I picked mine for the same, for like not all that I like. Obviously, there was one that I picked just because I liked it. I didn't necessarily think it was that important, but I, you know, it made me happy or whatever. But
Important for us personally.
yeah,
We
important for
can
my
live
mental.
without the
That's
scenes.
right. It was important for my mental health at the time. But I do think that, like, as I was getting towards the end here, I was picking them because I thought they were super important, as well as I liked them.
Okay, well, number two, to jump in to our final two, I really love the scene in episode 4 where Kang is taking the test and he's clearly struggling, and Siloam gets up and drops the eraser on his desk, and you see this moment where Kang feels betrayed, and he thinks Siloam doesn't believe in him. Siloam's going to help him cheat, and then for him to see this really sweet, encouraging message. This one just gets me every single time, and it is so fundamentally how much Siloam does encourage him and push him to try.
Mm.
This is such a sweet moment. I did not include it, but I'm so happy you did.
Yeah, it's funny that you did, because it was one I definitely thought about including, because the same thing I had when I watched that, the way he looks like devastated at this idea that, you know, because he obviously there's a lot at risk, like Salom's safety is at risk, so he can completely understand, I guess, why he wouldn't trust him or why he wouldn't believe in him, but he's devastated at the thought of it, and then yeah, to get this encouragement instead, it's just like the sweetest thing. And I must admit, I did think about putting that on my list, but it got bumped out by something. I can't remember which one it got bumped out by, but I'm glad, yeah, as Marilla said, I'm glad you included it. So for me, my number 2 is the final scene. And by the final scene, I mean the windmill scene. And I just feel like I spoke about it for a really, like, a lot in the critical discussion. So I feel like if you want to know why I think it's so important, you should probably listen to the critical discussion. However, basically, just like, I feel like that is the scene that we come full circle. But there's all these, like, little, once again, it's funny, you talked about Kess, you talked about them in the scene where they make love and the hands and stuff. To me, the hands in this scene are so important. And I just, yeah, the windmill scene, there were windmills, like, I feel like that is enough of a reason for it to be there, but, like, that is not the reason that it's there. But just everything about it was beautiful. The cinematography, the characterization of them, their acting, like, just the fact that we got the monologue again, and it came round to, you know, the fact that their love has equalized them. So I absolutely love this scene, and I feel like it definitely belongs in my top 5 at number 2.
For me, number 2 is the shower scene from the end of episode 11, which I think is the end of the character arc for Siloam, and we talked about it so much in the podcast for episode 11. I think no words, no additional words are needed from me. Like, everything is there.
Mm.
But I'm sure someone of you is going to include this one in your top 2, and I'm curious to see what you're going to say about it.
Spoiler alert, I won't talk about it for top scenes, but I'll talk about it in top episodes.
Okay, so what's your favorite scene then? Your top
So
scene.
anyone who has listened to me talk for more than like 2 minutes will know this will not be a surprise. My favorite scene is the final scene of the entire show. I love the role play scene in the hotel for so many reasons, but 2 of them were the callbacks, and specifically the buttons. From the moment we see the buttons first in, like, I think the intro to the entire show, both Kang is undoing his own buttons, he feels stuffy, and then he's forcibly undoing Siloam's. And to have it then get turned into such a loving, trusting act, I think just embodied how thoughtful this show has been in telling a full story. We also there's been a lot of criticism of this scene that you both talked about at great length in the critical discussion. But the fact that Kang repeatedly tries to break the scene and just kiss him, he tries to say, "I love you." And it's Siloam who continues on, because this is an act of healing for Siloam. It's how he's showing his love to Kang. And I think it just shows so much about how they love and trust each other. So I think I will never get over this scene.
Okay, I feel like I need to go back, because I have number 2 and I've written the final scene, and I talked about the windmill scene, and now I'm not really sure if that was the actual scene I was talking about or if it was the final scene. because you're right, there's so much that happens in that scene, and so I feel like I'm taking back my final my part 2, and I'm gonna say it's the final scene and the final scene. I'm cheating again. I'm doing 2 for number 2. My my number 1 though is Morella's number 2, the shower scene, and I feel like because for all the for the reasons that you said, it is the culmination of everything that we were waiting for from Salom, and also everything I feel like Kang was waiting for Salom. The climax of his character arc, and I once again, I spoke about this so much. I love everything about this scene. I love how vulnerable he is. I love the way Kang, like, we wanted Kang, like, I literally kept yelling at my television, and I feel like I said it in the podcast a bunch of times, like, speak, god damn it, like, use your words, like, you have them. And so, and I just felt like the words that they gave him in this, and his and like Perth's execution of the words in this were just amazing. They were like literally everything I wanted to hear and didn't realize it. Like we talked about previously how I would have liked, and I love you or something in that moment. Like that's what I thought I wanted, and we essentially that's what we got anyway. But that this whole idea about like I never wanted to like turn away from you, or like whatever he says, I just, it's, to me that's like, I don't know, I feel like people say I love you like really easily and don't always mean it. I always mean it when I say it, just FYI. But I feel like, it's one of those things that it's a phrase that doesn't always like, isn't always backed with true feeling. And I just, the way he used his words and the way like as he was, I guess expressing himself, we got to see these moments of like Shimon and Salom like kind of like breaking a little bit more with each kind of acknowledgement that they were actually there for each other and everything. And I love the fact that Kang puts the towel on him. I will like I'm like I may even get that tattooed on my body somewhere. Kang gave him a towel because it's so fucking important, and it's just, it was something that they could have just like, they could have blocked or whatever, like the scene, so you couldn't actually see Shimon, like, and so like they could have done it and like tried to make it look more intimate because he'd stepped in the shower and all that, but it would have been wrong. It would have been so wrong. Like in that moment, like Kang covering him with the towel, it just means everything. And I loved, there's like this little pause in this scene where when Salom says, like he thought he had no one left, and like that really just, you see it, it's like Kang is physically just been like assaulted, kind of like he flinches almost and is just like, and I love everything, the timing, just like everything about that scene I think was amazing. And it was everything we wanted and more, I thought. And it makes me so angry that people like have issues with it. I just want to like find them all and sit them down and tell them why they're wrong, and then give them a hug and a cookie afterwards, because like I feel like they need that.
Does anyone does anyone want to guess what my favorite scene is? Because I feel like you could.
Is your favorite scene the one where, no, I feel like you already mentioned that. I don't know.
The end of episode 4.
I knew it was going to be episode 4. I just couldn't tell which one.
I can't
Oh,
remember
when he lets
what
him into the
happens.
gate.
Yes, at the gate. We had the
Oh,
gate
yes,
parallel.
of course, where he lets
We
him
have
in.
Yes, we had the mention of without wind, how can the windmills feel? We have the music with that. Grandma is there. The umbrella is there. Like it's the prince who lets his rescuer, his hero, inside into his castle. It's the outsider invited in. Like I never got over that scene. I never got over. I'm not gonna say this because, but come on, you know already. Which one is top one? My favorite episode, right?
Episode 4.
It's easy to get
Yeah.
to guess. Yeah. So this was the moment I feel like they told us what kind of story this was going to be. You just had to listen.
You had to open your heart and let the romance in, is what they told you.
Exactly.
And I feel like, okay, so you've just answered the question as to what is your favorite episode for Morella. It's episode
Yeah, but you
4.
don't know the other ones. So I'm going to talk.
I'm like,
Let's
what?
talk
We're allowed
about
to have
favorite
more than one
episodes.
favorite episode? Okay, well, that works for me, actually, because my favorite episode is not a whole episode. I
You're cheating again.
am, no, but, well, I am, but you're just saying you've got 2 favorite episodes, so, like, I'm not the only one cheating now. But, all right,
Me?
before
No.
I
I
say
have an
it,
honorable mention, so you can do 2, Zoe.
okay. Deal.
Everyone is cheating. I don't have 2 favorite episodes. I have a top 5.
You have a top 5 in episodes as well? I don't have a top 5. I didn't think about that. I'm like, were we meant to think about that? I'm like, how am I meant to pick 5 favorite episodes? But
Okay.
like, they're all just so good. Like, okay, I think that Morella, you spoke, so it's actually Kess who should be talking.
So I'll do my honorable mention favorite episode first, which
Mhm.
is episode 6. I love the methodical sponge bath for all the reasons you've talked about. The art room confrontation, I think the acting is exceptional. And I just think King is so unhinged throughout this entire episode in the most wonderful way. And just watching him be this emotionally stunted person that has to learn how to feel and has to try to communicate, I think it's brilliant, and it makes me like laugh and cry every single time.
It's hilarious too. I feel like him a little bit in episode 6, because like the person that he's jealous of is like so like the least person he should be jealous of. Like it's interesting because I feel like he doesn't know Guy enough at this point in time so he can be jealous of him. He knew Pimfar, and he knew that Selom didn't like Pimfar, but he also has the information that Selom likes guys too. So like, I don't know, but it's just his jealousy for Guy is hilarious to me in episode 6.
What's your honorable mention, Zoe?
I can't really put it like honorable mention like favorite, because my favorite episode, like if I was gonna frame an episode, it would be the end of episode, oh my god, I don't know the numbers, I'm hopeless. So the end bit where they make love, and then the beginning of the next episode where it all goes to hell, because I'm twisted that way. Because I knew, like, when we got to that point, it was we were heading towards the climax. You know, we were finally going to get these like character developments and things that were going to be like super fucking painful, but also really rewarding to see. And I love the scene where they're in Korat in the hotel room and everything, because the way they talk to one another, and just even like Selom kissing Kang first, and then just like just everything about that was like such a green flag. And so and then just like the complete like an utter, you know, devastation from that going to like, or is this all happened in the same episode? Like, it actually happens in the same episode, doesn't it? Because it ends with them coming home, doesn't it? Okay, whatever episode that is, that's my favorite episode.
No, no. You were right. It's the end of 9 is the love scene, and then episode 10 opens with some very domestic soft stuff
Oh,
in
it
part
does.
1.
And then they
Yeah.
go home. Yeah. Okay. So I'm like basically, all right. Okay. Yeah, you're right. So the end of 9 is essentially like the start of my favorite episode. And then, yeah, I love the domestic stuff because I just thought it was really cute. And we talked about that a lot. But yeah, I love the way it ends. I don't know. I can't really pick. If I didn't know we were doing top 5, I maybe could have done top 5, but I feel like it would have been like, it's like if someone had said to me, "What's your top 5 favorite books?" I would tell them to take a long walk off a short pier, because that is not happening in this lifetime. I don't know. Is my answer. Morella, you tell us yours, and then maybe I'll think about it a little more.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you mine. So, number 5 for me is episode 12 because of everything.
Yeah.
Number 4 is episode 7, where we have Salome opening the door and letting Kang into his heart. We have all the sweet moments. We have
Yes.
Kang trying so hard.
Yes.
We have the scenes in the bar. We have Guy and Nawa comedy, which actually I loved, and I did not expect to love that. We had the friends accepting the relationship, and we have the "Are you really my boyfriend?" And then number 3 for me is episode 2
Mm-hmm.
because of Kang being dumb and obsessed and Salon being amazing and the end scene, of course. And number 2 is episode 11 because of all the struggle, because of the bubble, because of Salom's arc, the reconciliation, the most beautiful confession, Kang speaking to him in the bathroom.
Mm.
And also a wild guy. And then being each other's heroes. What's your favorite episode, Cass?
Okay, so I lightning round just did top 5 to match you.
Okay.
So, because honorable mention when I said it earlier was my second favorite. So
Mm-hmm.
my fifth favorite is episode 4. For you've talked about why it's amazing way better than I do. My fourth favorite is episode 12 because it was the most perfect finale in every way. I loved it so much, but it's also the end and it makes me cry. um, my third favorite is episode 8. I feel like I've undersold all of the domestic boyfriend time, but I really love when they were happy together, how sweet they were and how supportive. And we also got their first fight that they had to reconcile. I already talked about episode 6, and then my number one favorite is episode 11 because it tells a complete story from them being totally broken up and apart to the like in between where King is taking care of him to them like trying to save each other's lives and realizing how important they are to each other.
Okay, so I'm reevaluating. Okay, so basically, I'll give you my
I'm
top.
going to cheat again.
Yeah, no,
You're
no,
going to cheat again.
I'm doing a do-over, right? Okay, so my top 5, and I'm not going to give you the order because that's beyond me right now.
Because you're cheating again.
Yeah. So episode 2 is in my top 5, and then basically it's after episode 2, it is episode 6, because for the reasons that Kess said, he's completely unhinged, and I love that about a character. And then the other 3 are basically the end the end of 9, and then 10, 11, 12. I feel like the
So
last
your
3 episodes
top
of
one
this.
is 12, right? I mean, your favorite one is 12.
Well, I don't feel comfortable saying that because like there are aspects of that episode, like the second half of episode 12 is probably my favorite of the entire series. However, I don't feel confident saying that episode is my favorite because I feel like the front half, although I like it, it's not my favorite. There's probably like either episode 11 or episode 10 is probably my favorite. Did I say episode 11? Episode 11 is probably my favorite, like number 1 favorite. But yeah, I can't pick. See, this is where I'm at. It's just like a downward spiral of like disaster trying to make me pick. It's like asking me which child is my favorite. I don't have them, but I wouldn't be able to tell you anyway.
So everyone knows which one is mine, but I'm going to say it again because I think it deserves to be explained and it deserves a shout out. And this is why it was my idea to call it Odd to episode 4 because I completely fell in love with it. We have the dramatic slow motion falling, the scene in the bathroom. We have Kang falling in love in this episode. We have discovered the depth of Siloam's feelings. We have him dedicating his life to Kang and being happy in this bubble that they created. We have the dramatic breakup era, which is freaking amazing. We have all the parallels, and we have the end twist, where we know it's just the beginning, and we kind of see where this is going. And this is perfect romance. This is dangerous. Not so dangerous yet, but it's perfect.
I have like a couple. I know you guys struggle to do this, but I still want to ask the question because I feel like there has to be at least one scene that you guys. Well, maybe not Kess because I know she fast forwarded stuff, but like, Morella. Besides the Kang Salom stuff, like, what was your other like? What for any other character, whether it was Pimfa and Navdal or Nava and Guy, like what, or like Otto and Matt, like who, like was there another scene, or maybe it was just a scene with Grandma in it? Was there like another scene that was like your favorite that had like wasn't to do with Perth? Wasn't to do with
I
Kang
have
and
two.
Salom.
Yeah, I have two.
Mhm.
I had that Nava guy scene on the rooftop where the Nava is trying to convince the guy not to give up, and we had the shooting star scene, and it's absolutely adorable. And
Mhm.
also, I like the scene where they flirt or like set up a date slash fight in the field. But I'm not sure what episode this is from. I think maybe 7,
Okay.
maybe 6. I'm not really sure. Do you know the scene that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah. And what about you, Kess? Did you have one? Because I know, as I said, you fast forwarded a bit, but you did go back and watch some stuff, didn't you?
Yeah. I really like the early Guy Nawa scene where the teacher is poised and ready to have Guy kicked out of school,
Mm.
and Nawa laughs and he's like, him bullying me. And I just think that was such a fun twist because they parallel King and Siloam a lot, and King would have had Siloam thrown out in a heartbeat. And so I loved that they had that foil where there was no way Nawa was letting that happen to Guy.
Mm. Well, because it's interesting because the dynamics are different. Even though we had these mimicking scenes between Salom and Kang and Nava and Guy, Nava already knew that he like loved Guy, whereas Kang had like no fucking idea because he is like not at all self aware, and also he wasn't at that point when they started antagonizing each other. Okay, so for me, I feel like people should know what my absolute favorite one is, but my like I guess my other one, my honorable mention, is the same scene that you talked about, Morella, which is the one with Guy. With Guy and Nava hits him because he's trying to make him fight.
This is not the one that I mentioned.
Oh, you're talking about the one on this. You're talking about the different. Oh, you're talking about the bit where they're on this, just on the at night time with the
Just
shooting
on the
stars.
field, and they're like,
Oh,
"Oh,
okay.
do you not want to fight me anymore?" They're just flirting.
Oh,
It's
okay.
silly, but I love it.
You liked the sweet scene. I liked the tortured scene.
Yeah.
Okay. I just love that because I thought that the actor who plays Nava was amazing in this scene. The bit leading up to it and then this scene itself. I absolutely loved it. And then of course my favorite is the scene between Sapphire and Name in episode 12. It's 12, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a moment that disappointed you? Like one moment that you didn't like? And what was it? Something that you want to criticize?
I can go first. So I think they got me most of the way there on King's dad, on forgiving him. But when I was rewatching the scene at dinner where King is running for student council, the dad not only he doesn't just say like I don't want you to get stressed out, which is a very valid parent concern. He like actively discourages King and talks kind of down to him there. And I feel like they could have towed the line a little bit better on how he talked to King where it would be easier to forgive him. Like had it be a little more in King's head that his dad didn't believe in him because his dad was trying to be so careful and fulfill the promise to the wife. Whereas I think they had him veer into like kind of emotionally abusive sometimes and like really harming King.
Mm. I feel like for me, I want to cheat again. um, my thing probably would, if I don't cheat, it would probably to be to do with the dad again as well. Mainly just because we didn't, as you said, there were too many things that didn't quite add up to his excuse. Like his excuse didn't really excuse him for some of the shit he did slash said. And the thing I think that bothers me, and it's not really I'm not really criticizing the show. It's more like I felt like I wanted more from it, and it was this idea that like maybe there had been some sort of physical abuse or something, because Kang, there's that scene early on where Kang like basically flinches, like he's like physically afraid of his father, which doesn't really match the dynamic they then tell us, because he can't be afraid of disappointing him, so he tiptoes around him because his father has no expectations. We don't see him ever like raising his hands to him or anything, except for that one scene at the school, which I guess, hang on, maybe I'm contradicting myself. Maybe I suppose that does explain it. Maybe we're meant to assume from that, I guess, that maybe in the past he may have also, although hang on, no, I'm wrong. They do explain it to us. They do, because basically he says himself that he was really strict and horrible, like the worst father you could imagine, and that's why his wife told him to like chill the fuck out, basically. And we do see that they have that similar like hot-headedness, the two of them. So maybe when he was a kid, his father was quick to anger, and like that translated into like hitting him. Maybe not like abuse, but like still maybe a little bit more extreme than say like your normal father, disciplining their child, given the way he acts when they have that confrontation at the school. So maybe that is the wrong choice. So what was my other choice going to be? The one where I was like, if I choose this and I'm cheating. I think probably the only thing that I didn't really like, and this is probably going to upset people, is I would have actually preferred to see more about Otto and Max from, and I'm not like, this is not a shipping thing, like from a friend perspective, because I feel like their friendship was cute and everything, and we did have these like fun little bits and pieces that sort of show us how they got there. And maybe Otto is just super kind and super like he forgave really easily or something, but I would have actually liked probably a little bit more interaction with them, and maybe a little bit less with Pimfar and Nabdal, because I didn't really get anything from their like interactions so much. Like I don't know how to explain what I'm feeling. I don't know. I probably would have structured those two sets of characters slightly different. But I get the way they did Pimfar and Nabdal the way they did, because of the dynamic between the teacher and the student. But I don't know. I probably would have liked that storyline a little bit better if they had just like met her during the university tour or something, and she was just an older girl that she liked or something. Then I don't know. I felt the teacher um dynamic was maybe not necessary. That probably would be my only like criticism, but even then I don't really feel that strongly about it.
Well, you had some good points, both of you, and I agree with the thing regarding the dad. So I'm going to bring up another one. I think I already mentioned it. It has to do with Pimfa. I don't like the fact that we did not see the cheerleading dance.
Yeah.
It felt like it felt so unserious. It kind of felt like they didn't commit to this storyline. They didn't commit to the character. It was her arc. Like she got through something, and then the dance would have been her, succeeding, even though she was hurt. And we would have seen that Nabdao helping her got her to that point, and her being grateful later would have made more sense. But we didn't see her moment. It was set up and then it was dropped and there was nothing. And it's like this story does not have this the most important part. Like the most important part was cut out of their story,
Mm.
and it feels very very weird.
I feel like
We should have seen that dance.
yeah, I feel like maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I felt like their interactions were a little bit, considering how like deep everyone else's were. Like Gava and I was, even though they were funny, it was quite deep. They had that scene where, we have these scenes and we got the past history, and there was like all this stuff.
It
With
feels like we saw the beginning, we saw the end, but the most important thing was left out. Like the glory moment was left out.
I just feel like
There,
the
that's
doing the makeup scenes and stuff like that. I feel like that was really like kind of superficial, and I would have liked to have seen something a bit more. Maybe that's what was wrong with it for me.
Well, I think the makeup scene was not really the idea. The idea that she saw her, she saw that she was struggling. She helped her. She supported her. She was like kind of like the wind.
Mm.
Well, Pimpa was the windmill, but we did not see Pimpa succeed. We did not see her score the goal as we saw Kang. We saw Guy being back on the field, but we did not see Pimpa dance,
Mm.
and it just bothered me so much. I felt so weird. It really bothered me when I saw that episode that they did not include the dance.
And maybe that's what's, as I said, maybe that's what's wrong with me, that there was something missing from it seemed, a lot of it seemed unnecessary, and that maybe that's because, like, as you said, the actual climax or whatever was missing, the pivotal scene was missing.
So I think I only have time for one more question, and if you both are up for it, I had an idea for what that could be, which is
Yeah.
which inanimate object caused you the most emotional damage, or do you think was best used? Because I feel like we've talked about inanimate objects so much.
I think for me it was the doors. I'm obsessed with the fact that there's so much imagery. Like with the bathroom. Can I say bathroom and doors? I'm going to cheat. It's
You're gonna
bathrooms
cheat.
and
I feel like
doors.
I'll let you cheat. I think it's fair.
It's bathrooms and doors. I'm obsessed with the fact that like we kind of had this weird idea about bathroom and doors, and like this bubble that they had, and like how Kang would just go in uninvited, like about consent being given or not, and their like personal space. And then just the show kept proving us right in a very weird way. I'm not sure, did they intend to do this or it just happened and we kind of picked on it and it's just so weird and correct. But I really liked observing this every time the doors and the bathrooms were used, and like how they would reflect the way the characters felt about each other.
Okay, so I'm gonna cheat. I have 3. So the first one is the bathroom. I agree. I actually feel at this point that the bathroom was a whole actual other character in this show to a certain extent. It was like their support system. And I like it for the many reasons that Morella and I spoke about in the past, like 20 podcasts. If you want to know what they are, go check them out. I'm cheating. I'm going to make you listen to it. And I also, this is my sort of funny, I'm joking, but I'm also kind of serious, but like Salom's scent. Because I feel like there is actually maybe a meta post in this as well as to why I think that this is important, and how it ties a bunch of stuff together. But yeah, I'm gonna say that. But in actual fact, my other kind of one that I sort of just actually sort of thought about today is actually the soccer USB. I thought it would be the umbrella. I thought it would be the pin. I thought it would be the bag. And I think they all have like different things. And I feel like we talked about the umbrella and the bag a lot. So maybe that's why I'm choosing the soccer USB. But it's really interesting because, like, in episode 2, that's the first clue that we have that Kang even has interest in soccer. And then, like we see it again in episode 4 when they're studying, and then later after that when they're separated, they reach for it, and it's like this to me is a physical representation of Kang's dreams unrealized. And when they both reach for it in the classroom and they've been separated, they're like reaching for it and kind of like sharing this potential future dream, but it doesn't last. And then later on when they are together, or they're in that stage where like basically they're trying, like Kang is trying to get together with Salom, and he's doing like the mad flirting at school. He hands the USB to Salom plugs it in, and it says, like Salom is like Julek or whatever it says, like he's like cute or whatever it says. And Narak, yeah, Narak. And then he says and then there's just a bunch, and we see it a lot, and it's like they keep passing back this like dream expectation thing. And I just kept seeing all this different imagery that I hadn't really noticed, and the fact that it is shaped like this, and we then later find out that that's kind of like his dream, and then the transition from that to like what it actually becomes. I liked it. That's probably my, like, besides the bathroom, that would probably be the one I would choose next.
I already loved the USB and was going to kind of honorable mention it, but you saying it represents his dreams, he also left it behind when he was caring for Siloam, and that's how Siloam knew he was there. So I feel like that fits that his dream is to take care of Siloam as well. Mine is the bag. I would have said the umbrella, but I really love how the bag is what saves Siloam's life. And
Mm.
so it's telling us like King is going to save him. King is going to be there for him, even though Siloam feels the most alone that he has ever felt. And I think everything we've mentioned, except maybe the umbrella, you see in episode 1. You see the pin, you see, I think, the eraser, if not in 1 and 2. You see the football USB, and you see the bag. So the show did a really nice job of planting them all from the very beginning.
Yeah. I think with the pin, like, I liked the pin, and I noticed, like, when I did the rewatch tonight, that they definitely focus a lot on the pin in the very first episode. It's like they're showing it. It's like it's the status symbol of his place as a scholarship student, but also as a poor student, but also as the fact that he's smart enough to be there in the first place. And then of course, like, when when Kang takes it back off him, and like, he's not worthy, or he's not, like, strong enough to keep it, I guess. And then, but then when Kang gives it back to him, it's just like that there's all these things. So I do think the pen was important as well, but
It's so funny how none of us they really mentioned the umbrella and the windmills with the wind. It's like two of those, right?
I feel like we all, like, I don't feel like we don't think they're important. I just think that we've already spoken about it. And I feel
Too
like,
obvious.
yeah, I feel like it's just, yeah, too obvious. But I also feel like it's not worth mentioning, because, like, they are so intrinsically part of the show that, like, these other things, they could have not had these. So they could have not had the USB thing. They could have not had
They
the
kind of
pin.
really they really show this in your face. Like they say the windmill, the wind, the windmill, the wind. Here's the umbrella. Look at the umbrella. But with the other ones, not so much. They're not making you focus on them. You have to notice it in a way.
Yeah,
Kind of.
yeah,
Especially with the bag saving
yeah.
Salom's life. Like you
I
had to notice that, and most people
Yeah,
missed
I
that.
think a lot of people missed it. Yeah. And I love that. I noticed that's true in that scene straight away. That was the thing I noticed. And I was just like, wow. I literally said, I think, to the television, wow, Kang just saved his life. And it's it's funny because, Morella, you know how you say, like, episode 4 is your favorite. The bag is mended in episode 4. So
Mhm.
I'm just like, yeah, I feel like, look, I mean, I had so many notes here. I was like, okay, now tell me, what's your favorite, like, scene of this, like, individual scene. And I'm just like, we could have talked about this forever. Like, I feel like it's like, it's sad that it's over, but we can always go back and watch it, and
It's sad
find a
that
good
we are all in
podcast.
three different parts of the world,
Yeah.
as far from each other as possible. Hard to coordinate.
Hopefully, on behalf of everyone listening, you two have been so thoughtful and shared so much joy and love for this show and made it like such a pleasure to listen every week. And I've learned a ton from you. So thank you for all the episodes you've recorded and deepening my personal knowledge of it.
Thank you, Kess, as well, for your feedback, for you supporting us, for all the posts that you made, and for the fix. Like, you are part of my experience of this show, and you made it so much better.
I feel like when we started this, it's funny, I saved a GIF in our drafts folder, which I'll post, and it basically says, like, who are you talking to? Because I kind of felt like when we first started doing this, that this would be like us just, yelling into the void. And in the beginning, it was really, really kind of scary. Like, as Marilla said, we were just like, on one hand, we didn't think anyone would listen, and then on the other hand, we were like, what if they do? And I felt like we were really awkward in the beginning, but we kind of, the more you guys reached out to us, especially Kess, when you started to reach out to us, I feel like we got really comfortable, and we were actually able to really sort of dig into the show. And it really did, it heightened, I feel like, our experience, and also, like, our critical development to think about, like, what's going on, because sometimes you would disagree with us, and you would say, I disagree, and, like, I love that. I love when people disagree, and some of my like, my most enjoyable memories of recording this with Morella is where we were, like, semi arguing where we were just like, no, well, I think this, well, yeah, I think this, and then we would kind of, like, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, until we either, like, convinced each other or we kind of met in the middle. And it was just like, the idea of of this podcast. I love this like critical back and forth, and I love the fact that, you know, GMM gave us this show that we can actually have a decent conversation with. I mean, it's a great show. Morelli, you said like anyone could just watch it and just like enjoy it for like what it is. But it's also like, it's one of those ones that I would be quite happy to go to a lecture series on or something, because there are so many like motives and imagery and just like symbolism, and this, you could just talk about this show for ages. And we just, we've really enjoyed this, and thanks so much for coming on, Kess. It's been great. We may have to drag you on again sometime if we start doing something that you actually enjoy.
Find Kessthenorthface on Tumblr and talk to us on Tumblr, Twitter, or send us a message on Spotify. Thank you, Cass, again for coming to our podcast.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.